Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We've made it towards the end of the week. This is our Friday review, our Anything Goes show of the week. It's also a recap where I get to share with you the best of the week, what's gone on in our practice, what I've been experiencing or kind of playing with in terms of biohacking, healthy biohacking, nutrition, etc. I've got a great book to review this week for you. Lots and lots of books have been on my reading list, and I've been doing a ton of reading the last couple of weeks. So excited to share many of those with you that have kind of passed my filter. Speaking of filters, we have the very best ear filter in the world, the most applicable, simple to use, and I'll show you the new 5,000 version of it, not $5,000, but the actual 5,000 version for rooms that are bigger than 1,000 square feet. So if you have a big living room, you've got a big downstairs in your house, big office building, whatever it might be, this might be a filter that you look into as well. So, and I've got 2 research studies. I can't wait to share those with you as well. I don't want to leave them till the end, but that is where we do our research studies of the week. One on neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Really important to look at that and how light therapy may be helpful. And then another one on if you're someone who enjoys afternoon workouts and you've always been told to work out in the morning, why an afternoon workout may be right for you. All right, so let's go over those starting from the top. If I look a little sweaty right now, I literally just got back from a live O2 session. So I've done exercise with oxygen therapy, or you can refer to it in many different ways, treatment, etc. But basically, you're on an exercise bike. You can do a treadmill if you want, but mostly it's an exercise bike, and you're breathing in anywhere from 86 to 95% pure oxygen. It's like being in a hyperbaric chamber, but without the huge costs associated or the pressure forcing oxygen in. You're actually taking it in yourself. Well, the live O2s actually do something a little bit different than a regular EWAT. So it's called EWAT, exercise with oxygen. I call it with therapy, but you can call it again, treatment, etc. So this is what it does though. When you are going along, so typically the first 3 to 5 minutes, you'll breathe in all of that pure oxygen, almost pure oxygen, and you'll see your oxygen saturation levels go up to 100. So you get all the benefits of anti-inflammatory, removing brain fog, helping to push through lactic acid, boosting the immune system, et cetera, et cetera. It's fantastic. But then after that, with the Live O2, they're dropping, and this could actually be our product review of the week, but I'll do that in the future because I'm actually going to be creating a whole protocol out of this that I'm going to be sharing in January. And then what they do is they simulate being at altitude. So being like in Colorado, like on a hike in the mountains. And so it'll take the oxygen. Typically, we're breathing like 21% oxygen just at sea level. It will take it down to like 14%. So now you kind of your body's struggling to get an oxygen because you have this mask over your mouth and your nose. Very comfortable, no issues with it at all. And but I had never done the altitude training specifically with EWAT. And so you start at 90 seconds, and then you can gradually increase that. So I saw my oxygen, my specific oxygen, my SpO2, drop down into like the high 80s to like mid 80s. And that's what you're trying to do. So you're trying to get into a little bit of a hypoxic environment so that your body then is trying to get oxygen, is trying to look for oxygen, and then you ramp it right back up to the 96%, anywhere between 86 and 90% oxygen. And your body's then just soaking up that oxygen. So, I mean, you feel amazing. You really do. So anyway, I'll be sharing that. I have a whole brand new course coming out in January called High Performance Health. And look for that. I won't release it until probably January, but I'm super excited about it. It is what I do in my own life and how I'm really cranking it up to that next level to help people improve their biological age to remove any type of dis-ease in the body, and to live longer, stronger. That's what it's all about. It's just to feel amazing. That's really what it's all about. So anyway, lots to come on that. Again, like I said, if I'm a little sweaty, I just did it. I interrupted my work day and come back, finish my last podcast. All right. So that is that. That's like what I said is the madness of the week, doing a lot of these fun things. I already have the red light, the sauna, all this, and I want to add in that oxygen-based therapy that I love to do. All right. So I wanted to share with you this, that, and kind of on a personal side, next week starts the holiday madness, right? Like that's Thanksgiving week, which I love. It's one of my favorite holidays. And that's because there's not a lot to do, but really get together with family or friends for a Friendsgiving and to give thanks, right? Like that's what it's about. I love it. And I think it's like the perfect way to kick off the holiday season. You know, a month after that essentially is Christmas, and we've got Hanukkah and all different winter holidays in there. And for me this year, I'm kind of trying to just stay centered. I'm trying to like, we're in a new environment. I'll talk more about that. You know, my family moved and everything's just different. And, you know, we don't have the same family around us as we had before, but we are making our own life here, and we're enjoying it, and it's different. But we'll get to see family for the holidays, and there'll be travel, and there'll be all sorts of madness going on. And it's just try to like enjoy it and realize that, again, we don't necessarily know what the holidays will look like next year, whatever it be, is just kind of take one holiday season, 1 year at a time. So I'm very, very excited for that, and just not getting caught up in all the hoopla. I love the holidays. I love buying gifts for people. I love those types of things. That is who I am. I've always enjoyed it, but it's trying to just be present the whole time, and hopefully watch my two daughters, you know, really enjoy the holiday season as well. So that's that. Over at EquiLife, I wanted to bring you, of course, what's going on over there. And this week, we're getting ready. So stay tuned for it. Hopefully you're on the EquiLife newsletter as well. But we're getting ready to debut our brand new whole food bars. They're not quite ready yet, but they're getting there. And that is because, again, these are top of the line bars. We're talking about all allergen free, so all free of all of the most common allergens. They're safe for most schools. Kids love them. Adults love them. They're absolutely delicious. No dairy, no gluten, no eggs. So they're good for the gut. They're good for the overall health. And anyway, those are debuting. So the nice part of being the founder of the company, I already have them, right? So I'm enjoying them. I feel bad that I can't actually, recommend them to other people. They honestly are that good. Like they're that good. So stay tuned for that. Probably you'll get a sneak peek next week if you're on the EquiLife newsletter. And feel free to, follow me if you're not already on Instagram as well, on YouTube, because we'll debut that. But over at EquiLife, we're giving away our Prostack shaker bottle. And it's literally right behind me. Many of you have seen it before, but it is a 4-in-1. I've got about 8 lying around my house right now. So you can put a scoop of powder or 2 in the bottom compartment, another scoop or 2 of powder in the middle compartment. It has a hidden compartment for vitamins and whatever you want to take, with you. And then you can put 2 more scoops or whatever you want in the top container. It's 22 ounces if you fill it all the way. And so basically, it's kind of your all-day gear. Like I can have that. I can have if I want to put in it vitamin C powder, alkalizing vitamin C. I can put DNS in it. I can put in advanced collagen support. I can put in daily fruit and vegetable blend. But really during the functional medicine detox, which is going to be coming up, you're able to put in, basically you can drink 1 in the morning, and then you can have 2 more for your lunchtime and afternoon before you get home for dinner. So it's everything you need all in one. It's really amazing. It's called a Prostack shaker by EquiLife. And I think they're probably $20. It's yours completely free this week on all qualifying orders. Head on over to stevencabral.com/shop to grab yours on all qualifying orders. And if you don't have one, honestly, they are pretty fantastic. All right, this week on the Cabral Concept, hopefully you were tuning in, our Mindset and Motivation episode 2474 is how to care less about what other people think. I love that. I love that show. It's just basically like, oh, yeah, okay, you don't like what I'm doing. That's all right. And it's like, but it goes to the whole mindset of that, about like how you can liberate yourself and just live more freely and more at peace when you just don't care what people think about you all the time. It's okay to care. I'm not saying that, but it's also nice to not always care what people are saying or what you think that they may be saying about you. All right, on Tuesday, the Everything is Wrong with Me case study. So if you feel like you're someone that like, oh, everything is wrong with me, nobody can figure out what it is, I've got gut issues, I've got mood issues, I've got fatigue issues, I've got this, I've got that, I've got circulation, I've got thinning hair. Check out this show. I mean, it's just, I go through the lab with you and I just share with you, like, this is what happens when something is wrong, like with every part of your body. But the good news is it's all fixable. It really is. Like, it's all fixable. And we're not talking about years. We're talking about 12 weeks to somewhere around, so 3 to 6 months. Like, that's it. And then you're good for the rest of your real life. Like, that's the goal, right? Enjoy life, but get there first. All right. Wednesday was the history of low-carb diets. I always love giving you, I give you the history of conventional medicine. I've given you the history of low-carb diets, et cetera. So definitely check that out. Again, these are all at stephencabral.com/podcasts. And then yesterday's show was how heavy metals affect your digestion, your gut, and autoimmune issues. Check that out, especially if you do have digestive or autoimmune issues. All right. We are here with our big product review of the week before we get into our book review. And I'm not going to go through it as in-depth today in the AirDoctor 3000. I've reviewed that before. I'm going to link up that review at stephencabral.com/2478. But I'm going to show you the AirDoctor, and I'm keeping it plugged in. So you can see, if I'm raising it up, very faintly, right here above the AirDoctor, if you're watching this on video, there's a blue light. It's a blue circle. And I wish, if I could make it turn orange, you would see that it actually will show you when the air quality is not as good. And it will turn orange, and then it will turn red if the air quality is really poor. And inside of this AirDoctor, and it's not that big, this actually cleans rooms up to 500 square feet, so it's good for basically all rooms. And then inside of it, you can see this air filter. And I'll give it a little tilt right here. This is the carbon air filter, and then right behind it is the HEPA filter. And I just cleaned this a couple days ago, and you can still see some dust right in there. So I'm telling you right now, and I just sent a newsletter on this, that if you really looking to empty your rain barrel, I've talked about my book, The Rain Barrel Effect. You have to start with your food. So clean food, right? As little pesticides as humanly possible from clean animals, if you're having animal-based, and then clean plants, veggies, and fruit for produce. And then you want clean water. So you want a good quality water filter. All of my favorite water filters are at stephencabral.com/resources. And then you need clean air. Like, that's where you start, right? So shower filter, water filter for drinking. You need clean food and you need clean air. So that's why I'm such a huge proponent of these things. And I recommend good quality companies. So the one, though, I wanted to show you, and it's much larger, but it's like the AirDoctor 3000 that I just showed you, but it's called the 5000. And it actually filters rooms. It cleans the air, unlike a lot of filters, 4 times an hour. So it really moves the air. And the 5000, again, is for rooms up to 1,000 square feet. So double that of the 3000. Let me show it to you right now. The nice thing about the 5000, since it is more than twice as large, is that it has wheels, little canisters that you can wheel it around. So I'm going to pick it up right now and show you. And in the 5000, you have 2 filters on each side. So you can actually see that you have double the filters, one of these on each side. And you can set it on auto, which is exactly what I do. And the auto will just let you know when it needs to crank up the volume. And so meaning it cranks up the fan to really clean the air at a much faster rate. So again, I've been using the AirDoctor now for somewhere around 6 or 7 years. I'm a huge proponent, and I've only ever lived in smaller places. I've always lived in the city. I've lived in condos. I've lived in apartments. My office itself was only a couple, let's say like 400 or 500 square feet. And then in my wellness center, I had these in like every room. But now we moved and we live in a bigger place. And our living room is pretty big. And so I actually had the need then to get the 5000 to be able to now clean and circulate the air for cooking, for keeping the doors open if any mold's blowing in. So it's so good for smoke, for mold, for dust, for pollen, for chemicals in the air, smoke in the air, VOCs that you don't even know are there. So again, like I said, I'm a huge proponent, and you don't want to be breathing this in. When you see these filters and you're basically vacuuming them clean once a month and then replacing them every 6 months, which is very, very minimal, very small, you'll see what you could have been breathing in. So again, that is why I recommend these things. You don't want to be breathing these things in, just like you don't want pesticides on your food. and you don't want chemicals in your water. So I can wholeheartedly recommend the company. I've been using them for many, many years, and I definitely stand by them. There is a special code, of course, for our community. Whenever I reach out, I say, can you give our community a discount specifically? And I'll give you that link. So you don't have to type in a code, but it'll be at stevencabral.com/2478 or stevencabral.com/resources. All right, so now we are moving on to our book review of the week. Like I said, I've been reading a ton of books over the last couple of weeks. For this year, and really last year as well, I've been reading more and more research. So a lot of my hours that I spend on reading, which is always 1 hour a day minimum, is typically on research-based studies, because I've been putting together and formulating new plans, new protocols, essentially based on anti-aging and longevity. And those of you who've been but those of you who maybe studied inside of the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, or you've been listening to the podcast for some time, you knew that I said years ago, and it's always funny, and I'm sure I'll repeat this as well, is that I will be moving once I feel like I've given pretty much everything that I feel I need to in terms of how to help people rebalance their body with any type of dis-ease-based state. And it's not like I'm going to stop that. I want to take then my efforts and my energy and my study and move it towards now getting people to 100 years and older. And I really believe we can do that. I don't think that. I don't want to speak negatively on other people. I don't think that we can get to 180 years right now. I just don't. Now, again, so here's the thing though. Let's say that we can get you to 100. Let's say that's 20 years from now, 40 years from now, 60 years from now. Get there, because then we might be able to get you to 150 or more. Right? So there's no doubt about it with regenerative-based medicine. It's not going to happen with what we currently know. So that, again, this is a lot of what I'm studying. But with regenerative-based medicine, not trying to repair the body, out from the external. If we figure out how to turn on certain genes, and I'm getting way ahead of myself outside of this podcast, we may be able to then self-repair and rejuvenate. And I'm keeping my mind open to that, because it is possible. We see it in the nature around us, in the animal world. So we see it, and we'll most likely be able to figure it out, really. But it's going to be decades. And so my job, though, is to get people to have the energy, the vitality, and the zest for life. So no matter how old they live, that they're enjoying life, they're not suffering from dis-ease, and then we're moving in that direction. So anyway, I wanted to share with you a book, reading a lot of books, and just, I love to read. It's just one of my things. Some people like to listen to a lot of audio, or they watch videos, or whatever it might be. Reading's always held a little special place in my heart. I've always very much enjoyed it. And I wanted to share a book. This is actually my second read through it, because I read it maybe 2 years to 3 years ago. And it's called The Body Electric. And it's called Electromagnetism and the Foundation of Life. So the book is actually written by Gary Selden, but it's on the work of Dr. Robert Becker, who's a medical doctor. And really, it's interesting because you're talking about a conventional medicine doctor and scientist who, the more surgery and the more work that he did, the more he realized that we are not going to help people overcome disease and essentially an early death through conventional medicine pharmaceuticals. And that's not only the reason why I love the book, of course, because then he said, okay, I need to broaden my mindset and horizon and look for other answers, which is what I love. I mean, that's the thing, is I believe in conventional medicine. I believe in pharmaceuticals if needed for acute-based symptoms and disease where your life's at stake. But it's not going to help with chronic-based disease. It's just not. All it is palliative for symptoms. It basically quiets them down while they cause damage in another area of your body. And so if you want to begin to understand the process of essentially self-healing and how we can look at, how does a salamander or lizard or something, when they lose their tail, how do they regenerate a new tail? When they lose an arm, how do they regenerate a new arm? And I found this very, very fascinating. I shared with you a podcast on the Lex Friedman podcast with Dr. Michael Levin that talked a little bit about this as well. But this book actually goes deeper into the frequencies and vibratory medicine and energy that actually potentially could be dictating this healing-based response. So this was a fascinating book. It is a little heavy in terms of science and maybe not medical-based speak, but it's a little heavy in terms of the science. So if you enjoy that and you enjoy really understanding how the body works and the biology of it, then I think you'll enjoy this book. It's called The Body Electric, and I will link it up here at stephencabral.com/2478. All right, let's dive into our 2 research studies of the week. The first one is on light stimulation and neurodegenerative diseases. These are called shortened for NDs. And this was done out of, I believe, China, right? Yeah. Suzhou, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, Suzhou University, and in the Chinese Medical Journal. And again, I'm a proponent of looking at medicine all over the world and looking at what insights there may be. And basically what it showed is that people with Alzheimer's or dementia that were given what I call light-based therapy or a light box during the day, and then basically remove that blue light at night, they showed improvement in symptoms. And, for me, it's kind of like, yeah, of course they did, right? Like people in the natural health field, they're like, of course they did. Like we've been saying this for years. So we always get so frustrated because we're like, we've been saying this. And then it's good, that conventional medicine finally comes around like, oh, okay, maybe there's something to this, good. Well, I'm glad that eventually you can come around. But it makes sense because light turns on what? Cortisol, right? Blue light turns on cortisol. That's why it's not all bad. It just basically stimulates melatonin to turn off and cortisol to begin to turn on. That's why if you have seasonal affective disorder, SAD, you want to use light-based therapy in the morning. And then you want to start to eliminate those blue lights after like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And so, of course, this is good for the brain as well, because if melatonin turns on at night and cortisol turns down, then you're going to have more antioxidant-based power. Antioxidants squelch free radicals, helps with brain inflammation, and cortisol, we know, if it stays elevated, especially at night, can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia. So wanted to share that with you, and of course, I'll link up the study today. And the last one is, I found this interesting because for most people with low mood, low energy, depression, I'm always having them work out basically first thing in the morning to stimulate those endorphins, stimulate neurotransmitters. But let's say you're someone like me who wakes up and I'm already a little jazzed. Like I don't need more juice in the system. So if I work out first thing in the morning, it's actually terrible for my nervous system, especially if it's on an empty stomach. So that's why, again, there's something called bioindividuality. Anybody who's telling you to, do the same thing as everybody else it's just not correct. There are foundational programs that we all need, right? But not like, should you do a 12-hour intermittent fast or a 16-hour intermittent fast? It depends on the individual, right? Okay, so here's the thing. I do much better with afternoon workouts. Get a couple meals in me, feel pretty good, energy's good. If the energy starts to come down a little bit, okay, I can just ramp it up a little bit naturally with a workout. But this was an interesting study. So this was done out of, was this the Netherlands? Yes. And I can't pronounce any of these, but Maastricht University Medical Center in the Netherlands, and it was published in Physiological Reports. So this is one that was done on 32 men at risk for type 2 diabetes, so pre-diabetic. And they found out that those men, again, it's small scale study, so we need a larger one, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense. So let's get into it. If they did a workout between 3 and 6 p.m., they did better on their insulin sensitivity, their body composition, which is body fat to muscle, lean muscle, their weight loss overall, and their exercise performance than those who worked out between 8 and 10 a.m. So it's interesting. And I could theorize as to why this is because the researchers weren't willing to necessarily theorize. But let's say they ate more carbohydrates earlier in the day. And let's say they had elevated glucose levels as the day progressed. Then if they did their workout a little later, they were able to burn some of the glucose that was already in their bloodstream for the day. So then if they go to bed without an elevated level of glucose, well, then they have from, let's say, 6 p.m., until like 8 a.m. the next day when they start to eat food again. So what they're getting is then that's, what is that? About 14 hours right there, right? So they're giving their body time to send insulin in the bloodstream. Insulin then can pull it out of the bloodstream It can be stored as glycogen or it can be stored as body fat, but either way, the glucose is out of the body. And then they're, of course, burning calories and they're working their body, which will then help to hopefully, lose some body fat as well. So I found this interesting. I thought it was, fascinating. I think that you could get equally great results, to be honest with you, though, if you do exercise earlier in the day, because your nutrition and your supplementation and your lifestyle is also going to be able to tweak it. So I just want to let people know, you don't have to work out, first thing in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning. You can still get great results for an afternoon workout, and this theory might be why. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll link again all the links up to these studies at stevencabral.com/2478. Hopefully today's show was helpful. I'll link up the AirDoctor that I personally use, the 3000 and the 5000. And we'll link up, like I said, the research studies and the book review as well, The Body Electric. All right, take care, everybody. Have an amazing weekend. I'll be back answering your questions tomorrow on our Cabral House Calls. Take care. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at EquiLife, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquiLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.